Settlement Survival executes really well on all the standard settlement builder things, while also having lots of variants that make this a really fun game of the genre. This game simultaneously fully caters to players who only want to get filthy with the numbers and min-max to their heart's content, while also allowing players to focus on the building aspect and artistic expression, creating cool, cute, or complex communities. Is this game reinventing the wheel? No, not really, but it is making a super good wheel that rolls hella well, giving it some pimped out rims that make you go, damn, that ain't no regular wheel. Let's quickly kick off with the basics before we talk about what makes this game different. The game does a really good job of all the stuff you would expect from a game of this genre. People have certain needs which need to be met, such as food and warmth. People have health and happiness, which provide buffs when high and debuffs when low. There are buildings which do things and provide stuff. You get the vibe. All of this is simple, intuitive, and easy enough to take care of. It lets you focus on the much more interesting mid and late game mechanics while also posing enough of a challenge that it's not just a brain dead routine that makes the early game a total drag. This can be fast tracked more as you can play at 2 times, 5 times, and even 10 times speed, so you can absolutely power through the game when you need to. So let's talk about what makes this game more unique, as there are a ton of things. The first major one is the tech tree. Unlocking new buildings, building upgrades, and abilities isn't exactly the freshest idea, but I'm a massive fan of this particular tech tree. One of my favorite aspects about it is that it has lots of small tech trees, rather than one or just a few long extended tech trees. This means that even the most complex versions of something can be unlocked after just 3 or 4 tech points. This style really lets you pick the direction you want your settlement to grow and provides lots of different opportunities for gameplay, as not every settlement will have the same growth pattern. Although this is only true to a degree. While you are able to unlock techs, I often found that I wasn't able to make the new materials from a freshly unlocked building because I didn't have the required resource which I needed to unlock from a different tech in a different channel. The game does make this fairly clear by explaining what the building unlocks and what is needed to make or access the new resource. However, starting out, it was certainly overwhelming, and the lack of linearity impeded my ability to properly grow or to assign my tech points effectively. You can get around not having some required resources though, because you can trade for them with other settlements. So if you're smart with your choices, you can certainly turn a profit by picking the right items to import, produce, and export. I like this system as it is a demonstration of how the game is more geared towards people who have a good understanding of this genre and want more depth. Although finding yourself unlocking a tech only to realize that you're not able to use it is a bummer. Once you understand the game better, this leads to the ability to make really cool builds. For example, you can have late game manufacturing with early game agriculture, along with a collection of specific imports and exports which facilitate this. Continuing the theme of providing more depth than your regular town builder, Settlement Survival also boasts roughly 1 million items. While some games might have food as one singular thing, or maybe a few foods, this game has about 40. This might seem overly unnecessary, but the different foods can actually be turned into different goods, meaning the variety isn't just for show, there is a functionality behind the litany of vegetation you can grow and acquire. For example, compost requires corn and peas to make. Meanwhile, spirits can be made from agave or potatoes. This can be a little annoying because you randomly unlock seeds and livestock, so if you don't get lucky and find that specific seed, you can't grow that crop and in turn can't produce that good without trading for it. The game does keep it simple though, as your townspeople can eat any available food, meaning that the management aspect is still easy, with the plethorality of resources only providing more optionality and not more confusion. When you combine the in-depth tech tree with all the different items in the game, you find yourself with a massive network of resources and goods which can be produced and used. This isn't a game where you should expect to be evenly focusing on every part of the game, with every resource stack roughly equal or every profession similarly represented. Once you get to the mid and late game, you will start to naturally favor certain aspects of the good production process. Settlement specialization seems to be a common experience, more so than most games' general build me town up sort of gameplay. The multitude of items and the many ways you can use them also really caters to players who want to get deep into the numbers. One way you can do this is through the really detailed upgrade system. Upgrade buildings is nothing new, but the game doesn't lean into the generic level 1, level 2, level 3 building system that is very common. While it has that, it also has building slots which let the player place specific upgrades into those slots. These upgrades or remodels provide a wide range of bonuses. This system is quite micromanagey and intimidating for new players or players not keen on this sort of gameplay. However, most of the remodels are locked behind late game content, so you don't have to deal with it until you get there. It also fully lets players tweak the numbers and build their town in the way they really want. The game also has a good amount of menus and stack tracking to make this numeric playstyle all the more easier. There aren't as many as there could be, and not everything is tracked and viewable, but I get the feeling the menu system will keep getting expanded to accommodate these players. On the other side of the spectrum, this game really allows for specific personalization of the town through decorations. Basically, the game provides lots of little items from seats to trees to lights and a bunch of other things. These items are great and clearly intended to give the player the chance to beautify their town. These items basically don't affect the gameplay, so if you're purely about the numbers, then you don't have to think about this tab. But for the players who like to spend their time microing the actual appearance of the town and want to build cute little communities, then there is quite a lot of optionality here. I also anticipate that this is something that will continue to be heavily expanded as the game goes on. More so, I can easily foresee many mods being created for this part of the game. The game already has mods in the hundreds, and that number is going to skyrocket after full release, giving Settlement Survival a chance to really become one of the most in-depth town builders on the market, with some of the greatest choice and agency when it comes to actual town building. This game also has a bunch of fun mechanics which you don't really expect to see in a game like this, feeling like a slew of cherries on top this delicious town building sundae. For example, there is an event system in the game. These can be activated in a number of ways, like clicking on these floating flowers or going to the notification in the bottom left. These events have fun little description of something that's happening in the town that makes the town feel more alive, then give you a choice which will either give you items, a buff, or a debuff, stuff like that. One of the extra game mechanics I wasn't expecting was the faction system. There is a faction system with a few different groups which you can interact with diplomatically. This area is underdeveloped, but I imagine as the game continues to grow, this might become much more significant and complex. It just indicates how much this game has going on. There are plenty more examples of these quite detailed game mechanics which you just find and interact with that make it clear this is not a regular town builder. There is way more detail and way more to do than you're used to, making the replayability of the game much higher than most of its genre. I am very positive on this game, but there are a few systems and choices which don't quite work or are sort of odd or frustrating. I would mainly attribute this iffiness to trying to balance and work out the game through all the mechanics and the overall complexity. One prominent example of this is trade. You can build trade buildings and send off your townspeople in caravans. The more people you send on a trading mission, the better chance it has to succeed. Send someone out on a solo mission, they're gonna get ganked in the woods. Send out a whole team, they'll make it back alive. Cool. Makes sense. However, for some reason, adding more people also extends out the time of the trip by a lot. Frustratingly though, sending more people doesn't mean you can trade more goods. Basically, the balancing is just really off. Sending more people is already a disadvantage because those people can't work resources in the town and therefore your productivity is lower. So there's no need for the game to double dip on the detriment. This is worse because it doesn't really make sense that more people making their way to a different settlement would somehow make them way slower. This is a nitpick for sure, but there are a few things I encountered like this where I didn't really understand why a certain mechanic worked the way it did. It felt unbalanced in a nonsensical way and it just discouraged me from using it. Luckily, most of these things are a few easy tweaks away from making it good, so I have faith this stuff will get worked out. Settlement Survival is a really fun town builder, one that is stuffed to the brim with features and mechanics, making it much more than just your regular old, some random settle a fresh plot of land type of game. I am massively impressed with how it manages to provide the depth that caters to min-maxers, while also having spent a lot of time and care to allow the artists to run wild. I have a lot of faith that this game will continue to be excellent, and I can definitely foresee the community running with this game and making it much better. And that's the video. If you liked it, give it a like. Subscribe to the channel and check out some of my other content. And as always, I will see you in the next one. Bye.